because the bush did not consume itself. But from the bush comes a fire. From the bush comes a fire, and from the fire comes a voice. Now, let me tell you something. I've seen fire a lot of times, but I've never seen a talking one. So Moses asked him, you want me to go do these things and go before Pharaoh, but when I go, I need to know who it is I'm representing. And so the bush comes back and tells him that, and you know the verse, just tell him I am. Now let me ask you this question. 5,000 years later, let's say 4,000 years later, what does I am means? I am as confused as to the answer as if I didn't even have it. You're going to tell me that you are something called I am? Then I am what? You see, because I am cannot be nothing, I am has to be something. So if you were to tell me I am a balloon, I understand. If you tell me I am a man, I understand. But if you tell me I am, how am I to understand what I am is when I am is not a complete statement? I am's got to be something. Although I think I understand what he's saying to Moses, but can you imagine Moses going back to the elders and saying, I am sent me? Now, for hundreds of years, they had a perception of God. He was known to be the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now Moses comes back and says, he's I am. Moses didn't say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses said, I am. What is this, Moses? Is this something or someone different or new who have sent you to tell us what? Now, how can Israel believe that Moses is going to deliver them from the most powerful entity on the planet? And when Moses went down to the elders, you know how many people he had with him? He was by himself. Have you ever heard a description of the army of Pharaoh? You ever notice how powerful and magnificent they were? So how do you determine that you're going to beat this most powerful nation by yourself, and you're saying somebody sent you called I am? I am what? I am who? What is a I am? Are you trying to demonstrate to us today as leaders who I am is? Or do you even know who he is? So let's go back. He's sitting in heaven, this great entity that we have perceived in our understanding to be this tremendous, magnificent, awesome, what? Is he a who? Is he a what? Why are you living this life based on what evidence you possess? And is your evidence enough to convince anybody that what you are saying is right? I am, huh? So he's God. What does that mean to you? He's God. And if I were to ask you here today, who is God, you would tell me your experience. But is that enough proof to prove who he is? Your little experience. Can you prove that the preacher said God told him to stop working? He stopped working. And his wife convinced him to go back to work, and he started a job. So I said to him, how can you tell me something about a God you don't believe in? Because if he can't take care of you, how can you help me? How could you preach about somebody and what he says if that person or that thing that you preach about can't help you? What grounds do you have to tell me about something that does not work for you? Where did you get the concept of whatever you possess in your soul or wherever you possess it to believe in whatever you believe? If it doesn't work for you, how can it work for me? Is he Elohim? Is he Jehovah Jireh? Who is he to you? I don't know. Those are descriptive titles. But that's not who he is. I told you, the man told me, the truck driver on Flood Street in the 400 block was talking about a man named Leonard Lucas. And he said to me that he knew Leonard Lucas. And he was talking about Leonard Lucas. And he knew all about Leonard Lucas. And as I started to say to him, I am Leonard Lucas, my thought came and said, no, just listen to what he has to say. It's amazing. He knew all about Leonard Lucas. Maybe that's like us as leaders. We know all about him, but we don't know nothing. We don't even know that he is able to deliver us, and we preach a fairy tale message that can't deliver us, and we try to get others to come out of their interesting situations when what we say can't even help us. Making any sense? Making you think? Provoking you? What do you have to say about this man, this what, this who, this, that, or the other? What do you have to say about it? If he is Elohim, which means he is the one who created everything. It's one thing to create something, but not only did he create it, he also sustains it. Now, we don't know much about what's beyond the sun and the moon, but if we were to think about how much gas the sun needs every day in order to operate, and where does it go to the gas station to get it? And if you give it too much gas, it burns us all up. And if you don't give it enough gas, it freezes us all out. And yet it maintains the thermostat equally every single day. Who is controlling the sun to the point that it knows exactly what it's supposed to do And for all of the years that it's been sitting there in the heavens, it's never outsunned itself. Do you not realize how much energy that it takes in order to operate the sun, and it's never had an energy shortage? And if that is the God you serve, who is able to keep the sun, then if he can keep the sun and give him all the energy that he needs, why can't he keep you? Why can't he maintain you if he's the sustainer of everything that he created? Did you get that? That's just the little sun. And our sun is a small sun. And there's so many billions of them in the universe that he has to sustain each and every one. And you sit around crying over a cracker when he has to sustain the sun every day. You say what he cannot do when he is sustaining everything every day. My God, do you even know what am I to call him, or who or what? It's interesting. I need to understand who he is. I need to understand what he is. I need to understand something about him to the point that if I'm going to give my life, I need to know who it is or what it is I'm giving my life to. Because if somebody can come along and take away from me what I've given my life to, then what did I really give my life to? Hello, leaders. Did the people call you, or did he call you? And if he called you, if he's a who, then what did he call you to do? And how dare he call you to do something and not sustain you, wait a minute, or not take care of you, hold it now. How dare he call you and not define who you are? If he can say to the sun, you be the sun. If he can say to the moon, you be the moon. If he can say to the fish, you be the fish. If he can say to the earth, you be the earth. Or the stars, you be the stars. How dare he tell you you're something that he cannot sustain? How dare you tell me that God, whoever he is to you, called you to do something, but that he did not provide for you the way in order to do it? How dare you tell me that he cannot sustain you when he sustains the moon? Wow. I don't know much about the shoreline and how the moon affects the shoreline, and the water comes up and the water goes down, and there are all kinds of things that the moon does. That's why people who study the moon in the Old Testament and probably still today were called lunatics, because they studied the moon, because there's so much to knowing how it operates. My God, my God, my God. There's so much to knowing how the moon affects the earth and the atmosphere. We don't know that because we don't study it. The stars told us that Jesus was born. Somebody was studying the stars to know that Moses came forward. Somebody studied the stars to know Jesus came forward. But you and I don't study the stars. We don't understand them, but they must have something. Which star told us you were coming? If I were to ask, somebody ask Siri, how many stars do they have in the universe? Hit Siri right fast.
How many stars they have in the universe?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you please repeat it?
Repeat it.
How many stars do they have in the universe?
Here's what I found.
what she has. You know what? Siri can't count that many stars. What she says.
1 times 10 to the 24th.
Okay, and what is that?
Boy, that Siri knew how to tell me.
In other words, but somewhere I read he counted them and he named them. And in naming them, he gave them a purpose. That's a star. Which our sun is supposed to be a star, which is supposed to be 93 million miles away, and it's a big star. And here you are, a little bitty person who he called and numbered and named, and you are telling me he can't sustain you when he sustains the stars. Would he make sure that the stars have everything that it needs in order to operate? How does the seed that you plant in the ground, it has no head, it has no tail, but it knows how to shoot up out of the ground in the midst of how does that seed know where the sun is? Oh, somebody help me here. If the seed has the sense to know through the dirt how to come up, how come you can't come up? How come we as humans cannot understand who it is or what it is or whatever you call him? Why don't you understand what he's able to do? Why do we question? Why do people question the God that you and I say we serve? Why can't they see the proof that he's real? I'll never forget when I first started. I told my wife I didn't have a job. I didn't tell her all, but I told her the Lord let me off the job, and she wasn't buying that. And all of the magnificence on what he did when it was my last day, and I told her I couldn't work no more, she told me to go find a job. I tried to explain to her that the Lord had called me off of a job. I didn't know nothing about all of this. And I thought that if I would explain it to her, she would understand. But she didn't understand, and she told me to go find a job. For a long time, I had to go find a job. And I got to the place, I'd just leave the house and walk around the neighborhood for a while and come back home, and she'd ask me, did you find a job? I might have told her, did you go looking? The first couple of times I probably lied and told her I did. But then I said, you know what? I ain't going to tell you nothing no more. I ain't doing it. But 42 years later, he sustained me. She works, I don't have to work. I said, God, if what she's doing is greater than what you call me to do, let's prove it. That's all I knew at the time. But I didn't know God would sustain me. And so I had to learn who this God is. And let me tell you something. I don't ever want to learn that no more. Because everything that I thought he was not. Everything religion told me about, almost 99% of what religion told me was wrong. I said religion told me was wrong. Or it was wrong for what I was called to do. And so I had a struggle with whoever this is that's telling me to do these things. And when I went to my religious leaders, they were telling me I was crazy. Isn't that interesting? Nor could they define me. Let's go back to how I started. If you would go into the book of Revelation, Let's go in Revelations chapter 17. Or let's look at chapter 13, verse 8. Somebody read. Verse 8. Get a microphone. There's a microphone somewhere around you. Turn it on.
And all who dwell on earth will worship it. Everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain.
What kind of book?
The book of life.
So you're telling me that he wrote a book. And what's the name of the book?
The book of life.
And the name of the book is the book of life. And in that book there are characters. I want to know today, are you fulfilling your character? Or are you an imposter? He wrote a book while he was sitting in heaven. We call it the book of life. And in the book of life, he said in 1952, there would come a child, and through this relationship, and I purpose it to do this, that, and the other. I wonder that I know that I was in the book. And I wonder that I know that I was a character in the book. And I'm wondering, did you know you're in the book that was written way before the stars and the moon? And you know, I don't know much about acting, but before you can act, you have to have a play. It has to be written down, and you have to have a part. And somebody has to be responsible to make sure you carry out the part you are playing according to what's written in the book. I wonder if you understand that you are written in a book called the Book of Life. You have a responsibility and a role, and you cannot do anything other than, wait a minute, if I am in a natural place, Sister Jean, and I don't want to fulfill the character, what happens to me? You get written out. She said you die. Hers is stronger. Both of them says you end. Isn't it amazing? I wonder if you are fulfilling your character that's in his book that he wrote. He can't make no mistakes. So it was not a mistake that he saved you, because you were already written in the book. You didn't come here as an unsaved individual. You came as a character in his book. And you came as a character in his book with a purpose. Anybody listening? Now watch this. You may have made some decisions to kind of alter the character. And what happens to you when you alter the character? As if you had a choice to alter the character. I submit to you, you do not have a choice, because the book is already written. And it was written way before you accepted the assignment. And what you must understand is what the assignment is and fulfill your role. How dare you tell he who wrote the book, you are sick and tired of being in the play. You're sick and tired of the role or the responsibility that he has given you. How dare you even tell him you want another part? Somebody help me here. For I submit to you that there are no roles for you. How dare you let something jump inside of you to the point that it will cause you to move away from your role, your responsibility, what he called you to do. Wow. Let's go in the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 68. Chapter 68. David, one of the great authors. Well, let's see here. Verse 18. Read.
You ascended on high.
You have ascended. Now, who is the you we're talking about? You ascended on high. Go ahead.
Leading a host of captives.
You led a host of captives. Or let's say you led a host of characters. In the book of life, you are a character. You have a responsibility. He did. Now, who is the he we're talking about? Jesus. The sent one. He has a pivotal responsibility in the book. Just think, if he makes one mistake, one character out of order, then the whole book is void. But the prophet David sees him on the way, hundreds of years before it manifests, because he who wrote the book told David what to say, because he knew what was in the book. So what he gave you was a little something. What would it be called? What? A prelude of what was about to take place in the book. You know, like when they do the show, they show you what's going to come the next show so you can keep watching. He's letting you know the accuracy of his book to the point that he can tell you hundreds of years before it comes to pass what's about to take place. Because he is the author of this book, and he knows exactly what he's doing because it is in his mind, and his mind is perfect. He's using wisdom which cannot, watch this, he uses a principle called wisdom, which means it cannot lie. So if wisdom was the instrument he used to write your character in the book, you cannot lie against wisdom. Matter of fact, not only did he use wisdom, but he also used knowledge. And knowledge says, I have the experience to understand the difficulties that I am going through, and I have gone through, but it's not going to alter me from my purpose. Somebody help me here. You see, what I'm concerned about when I look and see what's going on in what we call the church world, I don't see what he wrote, I see what they're making up. And what they're making up does not correlate with what he wrote, so therefore I have a situation. Who do I follow? Do I follow what he wrote, or do I follow the main characters? Or it's not main character, but what they're writing about who they perceive him to be. How can you preach about somebody or something you don't know anything about? How can you tell me about a God who's never tested you? And may I submit to you, it's not the best thing in the world to be tested while you're preaching. It's best you learn to sit down and go through your trials and your tests, so when you stand up, I won't see your errors. Somebody help me here. We're so impatient. Instead of studying, instead of learning, instead of going through your tests, not the tests of evil, because the Father cannot test you with the test of evil. But what he will test you is to see if you are worthy to go to the next level. He will test you to qualify you to come up higher. Somebody help me here. But we can't go up higher because every time he tests us, we keep failing, and we make up something about how good he is, not based on the test, but based on the lie of the idle spirit that's in our heart. You said, I don't have that in me. Well, we're about to prove it to you. Read on.
Leading a host of captives in your train.
Leading a host of captives. He had some names. What's your name? What's your name? Oh, what's your name? He had some who? What's your name? He had some captives. He was leading. Follow. Now watch this. He came, showed us what to do and how to do it, told us to follow him, and instead of us following him, we're following them, it, books, whatever, and not him. We're following denominations. Now, there's so many of them. Which one is the real one? Preachers say they're making them up as they go. Which one have you made up? Wow. Today, there will be so many different denominations, so many different heard from oh, y'all know the story. They rewrote the script, injected their lie into it, and now they're following the lie instead of the truth and wondering why nothing is working, because they have rewritten, but you can't rewrite the book. Because the book, if it be rewritten, was not written in wisdom, and it was a lie. Therefore, nobody could go to hell. Read on.
And receiving gifts among men.
Wait. But who did he get? What kind of people he found? People who were captive.
Captive. Prisoners.
He found who?
Prisoners.
Wait a minute. You said he found prisoners?
Captives.
If he found prisoners, what kind of people are those? Are they good?
Criminals.
Are they bad? So you're telling me he went and looked for some prisoners?
Prisoners. No life.
No life?
Low life.
Low life. Low life.
People.
That's what he found? You got to be kidding me, right?
Right.
Not Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all didn't get that.
Low life.
Here's Jesus coming into the earth realm to go find some low-life people, you're telling me?
Right.
Guess where he's hanging out finding them? In prison,
In prisons.
a place I don't even want to visit,
Oh, no.
a place hanging out with people I don't hang out with because I'm supposed to be better than them. And here's where Jesus went to find me. Oh, Lord, somebody help me here. Somebody help me, please. You got to be kidding. You cannot be telling me he left heaven to go down into prison to find the most low-lifed people he could find. And then he led them. Oh, somebody help me. Here's my Savior, perfect Lamb of God. Understand his role and his responsibility. Knowing what he's called to do. He left heaven, that place you say you want to go. He left. The place that you say is so magnificent, so marvelous, and all the other things you say about it, he left that place. Now, who is stupid enough to leave heaven? Now, watch this, Minister Lee. Not only leave it, but to go to a place called prison to go find Willie Mae. Go find me. He came to prison. He didn't go into suburbs. He went into prison. Somebody help me.
Right. Amen.
You have a problem with the people Jesus selects. And the problem is, you're one of them. And so why would you have a problem with your kind? Somebody help me. Now you meet one of your kind, and you try to tell them how no good they are, but you are just as no good as they are.
That's it. That's it. Just as no good.
The same prison hold, low-lifed spirit that was on them is on you.
That's right.
It's amazing how he left heaven and all of its magnificence to come down into prison, look for people like us, and put in, no, we were already in the book.
All right.
The warden gave us life in prison, but Jesus gave us eternal life in glory.
Oh,
And you were no good. You did all the sins that you could imagine. And you have the nerve enough to look at a fellow prisoner and say, man, you ain't no good. How dare you think you are better than God? I'm so sick and tired of my fellow prisoners. Lord, I don't think I can take it no more. You used to break in people's house. You used to shoot people up. You used to do all the stuff that you do. How dare you tell God you are tired of your kind? Who do you think you are that you could tell God that you don't want to be bothered with yourself? Somebody help me. You want the fallacy that religion gave me. I had to be good enough to go to church. I had to have church clothes on to go to church. I had to have a certain church look. And if you don't have that that certain church look, then you ain't a church person. And the person who don't have the look ain't one of us. Somebody help me here. So what have I done? I have exalted myself through my own ignorance and ego to make me think that I'm now better than my kind. The struggle that I have is my ego has said to me, I'm better than you. But he came from the perfect place and did not walk in his ego, watch this, but walked in his humanity and in his lowliness, his humanity, his humility, and came as a servant. But you want to walk as a Lord. And you want to tell me I'm no good and you're all right. When I saw you 2 weeks ago, before he came and got you, we was in the same club. We used to hang out together. But now you're telling me you're better than me. How dare you tell me you're better? Why can't you humble yourself like he did and said, follow me? Follow me. Let's go see what this Jesus thing is all about. Then when he begins to move and you begin to see that you were in the same book I was in, the book of life. And you have the same, you see, I read the word because I'm in the word. Because in the volume of the book is written of me, I came to do your will. But how can I do his will when I don't even know what his will is? Am I talking to anybody today? How many leaders are fed up with preaching? How many leaders don't like Sunday morning like I didn't used to like it? How many leaders don't like the people who's going to show up today? How many leaders don't have enough power to deliver the people that it's like going to a doctor and he can't help you, but you still go? There are going to be people sitting in a place, but they can't get no help. Call the church because the leader was never called to do anything for them. There are going to be millions of people today in the wrong church house, sitting under the wrong voice because they don't know who God called them to be with. Ignorance prevails. Read the rest of that verse, please.
And receiving gifts among men.
What did he do?
Receive gifts.
He received something. Wait. So if I were to read that, he received a gift, I would think like what Santa Claus do.
Give gifts.
That's what Santa Claus bring, right?
Right.
My grandbaby, who was 5 last night, told me that there's no such thing as a Santa Claus because the children in her school told her it's not Santa Claus, it's the parents who wraps the toys at night. I'm like, all right, I ought to go pop all of them in the head. But okay,
Go ahead.
there is no Santa Claus. So you're not gonna get no gifts? But she said the parents do it. Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, anniversaries, Valentine's Day, your birthday.
Yes.
How would you feel?
If you get no gift.
How would you feel?
Yeah.
How would you feel if there were no gifts for you?
Right.
So the Father understands all of his children has to have a gift. So he went to prison, Minister Lee, And from the time of his descending to the last person, he said, y'all follow me. Now, I know you don't remember following him back then. You were in the book a long time ago. All you're doing is following the script. And if you just follow the script, at the end, you'll get a standing ovation. Wait. At the end, you'll hear him say, well done. Well done. But I'm convinced that some won't make it to the end because their role was too hard for them. I'm so sick and tired. I understand. I've been sick and tired. I'm just so sick and tired of these people. Why couldn't God give me some religious people who look good on Sunday and act like they all right? Hello. If you want to be a devil on Monday. I ain't got to see you. But on Sunday, at least come to church acting okay. Somebody help me here. You said he went to where to get these people?
Prison.
To prison? And prison is a place you go when you do wrong. Somebody help me. Read on.
And receiving gifts among men, even among the rebellious.
Whoa! There you go. I knew you was in that book. I know you was in the book. What kind of people he went into prison to get?
Rebellious.
The rebellious one. Look up the word rebellious, somebody, please. Rebellious. Not me. No, not you with your religious behind, but just as you. Rebellious. You wasn't fine. You was in, well, how come you think you was in prison? Come on, Mustang Sally.
All right, showing what we got there.
What you got on rebellious?
Showing a desire to resist authority.
You were showing a desire to resist an authority. And anything else?
Insurgent, mutinous, disorderly, lawless.
You said mutinous?
Mutinous.
In other words, you jumping ship.
Jumping ship.
You're telling God, I don't want to be in the book. I want to go do my own thing.
No, that was, yeah.
Y'all do remember those days, huh? Yeah. I don't mean to recall them, but you remember those days, and you were the one he had in the book, and he was telling you to follow him, and you became mutinous. Is that the word?
Yeah,
mutinous.
Mutinous.
You became mutinous. You told God, the hell with you and your people, I'm going to do my thing. And God said, no, Jesus died for you, and he called you.
Disorderly.
You say what else?
Disorderly.
Disorderly. Not
lawless, out of control.
Not us. So we disorderly and what else?
Lawless.
Say that one again.
Lawless.
Lawless. We ain't got no law of God in our heart. We lawless. Anybody listening today? Any leaders watching today? That's who we are. And you're mad at God because he sent you to go help your kind. You want some religious people who are just as filthy, but they got nice clothes on. They got nice high-heel shoes and a hat on their head. They're coming with their diamond rings on their hands, and they go to the store and they have suits made, and they come to church a wolf in church clothes. Somebody help me here. And you just as sick and tired of your kind. You want God to give you, what you want God to give you? The only kind they got are the ones who are in prison.
That's it. Right.
What you want to get out of a prisoner? All he can teach you is how. They say if you send a person to prison, he comes out worse. Because all a prisoner knows how to teach you is how to do wrong. Now you're wondering why those preachers do what they do. They're rebellious. They don't even know it. And so Jesus have a whole bunch of people behind him. Wait a minute. Was Peter one of them?
Yes.
That lion cussing Peter?
Yes. Cousin preacher.
The one he said, you are Satan, get behind me? Was he one?
Right.
Matter of fact, not only was Peter one, he was the first one.
No.
Right.
He was the chief of the apostles. And he was the chiefs. He fit the character.
Right. Right. Right.
Isn't that amazing? No wonder the murderers, church going get snatched out, killed members. Paul, I bet you he was one. They say Paul would go in the church and be mad. He up there praising God. He gets so infuriated, he just snatch him and kill him. I bet you he killed more church people than Hitler. Can you imagine Jesus having him in the book as a chief apostle to the Gentile church, Paul? They said, is not this the one who did all this to us? That's the one Jesus called out of prison to say, come on, you little rascal, follow me. You want to know how much a rascal Paul was? He said, I'm a Roman. And the next day he said, I'm a Jew. The next day he said, I'm a Roman. And the next day he said, he's a Jew. Was he crazy? Was he lying? Was he like Abram who said, oh, she's my sister? And she was, but she was also his wife. And she was that too. Isn't it amazing how you prisoners talk? Paul describes himself as the chief of sinners. Paul even says, oh, wretched man that I am. Paul even says, I would do good. I really want to do good. Now, if the Apostle Paul says he want to do good and he got a problem with it, where do you think you stand, Sister Jean? So if you're going to run away because the preacher ain't no good, you never would have made it with Paul. Matter of fact, they told Paul, here's a bill that says that no Gentile needs to be circumcised. But what he does with Titus, what he does with Timothy, he goes and do the same thing that he fought against. I think Paul was bipolar. Got bipolar preachers, huh? What kind of law are you? Oh, I'm okay, me, I know. That's why he went to prison to get you behind, because you're okay. You cannot celebrate the fact that it was not good people he found, it was crooks and liars and thieves and sinners. Rebellious people like us that he made leaders out of. But he's going to work his will in you over a process of time. But you're not willing to wait on it. You've got to have it right now. Give me my cake. I'm going to eat it too. Okay, come on out here. Jump. Jump. Wish to God I could be on the boat with, what's the name of that prophet? Jonah. Me and Jonah just needed the two of us. I'd have been rolling harder than him. If I'd have known I was coming down the little night water to be behind it, come on, Jonah. You better never say you better not have 9 in your mind. You better not never say 9. You're tired. I ain't gonna be tired of this. I might be tired of that, but I ain't tired of this. You know, you're never tired of what you don't want to. You're not supposed to do. You're only tired of what you're supposed to do. Anybody listening? He said, when you're wrong, come on, come on. You all right, bro? I need a break. Go get you a glass of water. I'll keep going because I'm running as far. How many preachers I get to hear saying they can't go no more? Sick and tired. Matter of fact, they're even killing themselves. They're doing all kind of unseemly things because of who they've been called to talk to minister to witness to. Have mercy, Jesus. Read the rest. Is that all that verse?
Even among the rebellious, that the Lord God may dwell there.
That what now?
That the Lord God may dwell there.
So God's going to start dwelling with us.
Yeah, with the prisoners.
Heathens, prisoners, lowlifers.
Low-lifers. It's all that Lord is rebellious.
It's coming to earth. He gave gifts. We ask a question because it's the end of the year. We say to our children, what do you want for what? Christmas. Some children are slick and smart. They go right down the list about newspaper long. And they expect you to get all of that for them. If I were to ask you, what was the gift he gave you? Since you know what you want for Valentine's, and you know what you want for birthday, you know what you want for Christmas, and you know what you want for all of the special days in your life, which gift did he give you? Since he told you to follow him. Was it a gold 18-karat Rolex with diamonds to prove how powerful you are? Or was it one of those big, beautiful cars they call Rolls Royce to prove you really made it? Or was it before you could go in the neighborhood, you got to hit the numbers on